Information Station 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
All right, 6 minutes after 9 o'clock. Beautiful looking Wednesday morning. Hope you're doing well. Robin, you've been working with me for a long time now.
Long
and
time.
you know that I have some
Decades.
skills.
Plural.
I have some skills. I can not only work a puppet and be the perfect ventriloquist on the radio,
That's right, you can.
but I could also be the perfect radio magician.
Yes,
I
you
can
can.
levitate you. I know nobody believes me. They think, well, it's radio. How do we know she's really levitating? But, let me
Yeah.
just try it right now.
Okay.
Rub these two coins together and huli, huli, mali, mali. And there you go. You're rising. Look at that. Look at that. You see, now, I don't know if anybody believes me or not, but you just have to take my word for it.
I know.
Magic on the
way
radio.
Up here.
Tim David is an actual magician.
Yes, he is.
Not to say that I'm not, but he is a professional one. Not to say that I'm not. Anyway, this is a very fascinating book he's written. It's called Magic Words. And, I've often thought that there are really magic words. And I've often thought of it almost like in a philosophical sense. When you have a child with you and you tell the child, you can be anything you want to be.
Yeah.
They believe that, and that really is kind of magical, as opposed to the opposite. You're never going to amount to anything, and they might actually embrace that.
Exactly.
And it might actually set their pace for their whole lives. So, but that's not what Tim David is talking about in his book. Mm-mm. His book is called Magic Words: The Science and Secrets Behind 7 Words That Motivate, Engage, and Influence. Wait till you hear what he's got to say. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking we can't give you all 7 words, otherwise they'll sell no books.
Yeah.
Tim David, good morning, Tim.
Good morning. All right, thanks so much for having me on.
Thank you. Where are you right now?
I'm about 30 miles south of Boston. It's a bit rainy, it's a bit cold, but there's no place like home.
Do you know, I used to do music in colleges, and sometimes I would be the warm-up act for a magician, or I'd be on the same bill. And from the side of the stage, sometimes you can see how the trick is done.
Yeah, no, it's not real magic.
Sometimes.
There's definitely tricks behind it.
Sometimes. But then other times it was just a mystery. How did he do that? And I guess that's a different discussion than what we're having today. So you figured out that there are certain words now, is this always true? Like if I'm speaking Spanish, would I use the Spanish translation of the word, or does it, why do certain words have certain effects on us?
Yeah, it all starts in the human brain, and that's kind of what fascinated me about magic and illusion, is how can somebody look at something and yet be so fooled or so tricked when it's sort of staring them right in the face? And we magicians take advantage of little flaws in the human brain all the time. So looking at the human brain is always important for a magician, and now as a communicator and as a speaker and as a trainer, this is stuff that's important in all areas of our lives.
So, did you stumble upon one and you said, I'm going to use this word? Let me tell you a magic word I discovered. Okay, I'm going to tell you. I don't know if it's a real magic word or not, but way back when we used to be able to get free tickets from Walt Disney World.
Yeah, you got us a lot of tickets.
I would always write letters to Disney and say, Dear Disney, I do a radio show. Could I please have some free tickets?
Right.
And they wouldn't. No, they wouldn't. But then I decided to write, I would greatly appreciate it. And so the guys who I worked with kind of kidded me. They said, it's that word appreciated it. That's what gets you the tickets. Because before you started using that word, you didn't get the tickets.
Yeah.
So that was my magic word. It doesn't work anymore, by the way.
Yeah, people don't like to when other people feel entitled to things. So yeah, showing appreciation certainly helps. We have a chapter in the book on the word thanks, and I think that's really related, and it's pretty powerful. I would totally agree.
So do the word.
You know what else is powerful? I got to say, man, as you were introing me, you're talking about how parents can inspire their children either positively or negatively.
Right.
And for me, I'll tell you, growing up, my mother was an accountant. My older brother went off to college and became a sound engineer, and my father is essentially a nuclear physicist. I don't even know what he does. But basically, I came home and I said, I want to be a magician. You could imagine their faces, but their insistence on me pursuing a normal career really motivated me and inspired me to actually become a magician.
Wow, that is amazing.
Well, that is good. That is actually good. I mean, isn't it great to have support? I've often thought that about people who are in families with. I have a brother who's a veterinarian.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something. He makes a lot more than I do in radio. But it's not always about money, is it? I mean, I think you have to, as a magician, you have to just love it when you know that the audience is like, oh my gosh, how did he do that? You must love that.
Yeah, it's really it's about quality of life. You know what I mean? It's about doing something you love, doing something you enjoy, and I'll tell you, at the end of our lives, we're going to look back at the connections we've made, at the people in our lives, at the relationships we've had, and that's what's really important. It's much more about connection than it is about building collections. You know what I mean? And that's really what this book is about. It's about how to really truly connect with people. Whether you're a magician on stage trying to connect with your audience, I mean, I had a unique laboratory when I was on stage. I'll tell you that. Night after night, all being able to test all these things, it was fascinating. It was fun. But also, whether maybe you're a manager or maybe you're a salesperson and you're trying to connect with your employees or your prospects, or you're a parent who's trying to connect with your kids. Right. I think this is something that's really, really important. It's a skill that's disappearing from our culture. We don't know how to connect with each other anymore.
Disappearing. That's a good word for a magician.
Yeah, there you go. See how I did that? I slipped that right in there.
Let me tell you something.
Like that.
Tim, I'm going to tell you something that I see. I don't know you, but I see this book, just listening to you talk, as an indication that you are changing directions. I'm not trying to be a psychic here or anything like that, but that's what I think. I think you have stumbled upon something that is actually interesting to you more than, well, maybe not more than magic was, but as much as magic was, and now you're going in a different direction slightly.
Yeah, you might be right on that, Larry, and I think that's that's something that has been a goal of mine. And you're right, I've always been interested, like I said, in the brain more than the sleight of hand element of it. I want to know what's happening in a person's perception. This is why magicians practice in front of a mirror for hours. This is why we videotape ourselves and obsess over watching and make sure we're doing the right thing. We're taking the audience's perspective, and this again is a skill that people just don't have anymore. Empathy is on the decline. Narcissism is on the rise. People just, don't have the ability to perspective take anymore.
And you also encourage people in your book to realize that sometimes that they just can't be superhuman, that they do have to extend outward and ask people to come into their circle to help them once in a while.
Yeah, that's a big challenge. I do a lot of work with new managers, and new managers step into their role and they feel like they have to fake it till they make it. They feel like they have to have all the answers and be the guru at the top of the mountain. And if you are the person with all the answers, the problem is people start coming to you for all the answers every 5 minutes, and you never have that opportunity to empower your team. You never have that opportunity to truly lead. So the chapter on the word help is one of my favorites. I think it's one of the most important. In order to build true respect among people, you got to show vulnerability, and the power of the word help, it really does not just show vulnerability, but it also makes people want to help. Yeah,
obviously you're a motivational speaker, and your magical background is going to definitely help you get into the corporate boardrooms and places like that where a motivational speaker can do the most good. We are up against the clock, Tim. We need to take a little break, but we will be back.
Sure.
We haven't even begun, so I want to hear some of the words, and I also want to know if we can use these words to increase sales. I mean, could the sales staff learn some words that would help sell radio ads? Let's use that as an example. We'll tackle that when we come back.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. For today, turning out partly sunny with a high of 69 to 73. It'll be mainly clear tonight with a low of 39 in the coldest inland spots to 48 on the coast. There'll be some fog patches late tonight into tomorrow morning. Otherwise, mostly sunny tomorrow with a high 67 to 71. On Friday, a nice day with a mix of sun and clouds, high 70 to 74. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Yes, it's that time of year again. Christmas Days at WOCA, and we are in the spirit of giving. What you need to do to win is call us when we ask you to, and we'll put your name in the drawing. Remember, you can only put your name in once. You may win a certificate from Pac Mail, or one from Ocala Utilities, or one from Downtown Jewelry and Pawn of Bellevue, or Dance Alive, or... So listen to put your name in, and listen to win on WOCA, The Source.
Here's what you may have missed on the John Tesh Radio Show.
All right, my intelligent friends, if you get an email from Amazon asking to confirm your order, don't click on it. It's the latest scam to steal your identity. Jewelry experts say the diamond engagement ring is out. and non-traditional engagement rings are in. Even if the new relationship started off as a way to get back at your ex, it still makes people feel good. Being in a relationship gives you confidence, and studies have shown confidence helps us get over heartbreak faster.
Intelligence for your life on the John Tesh Radio Show. Don't miss this stuff.
The following message is sponsored by Urban Cardiology. Some tips to minimize the stress that accompanies the holidays from giftoftheheart.org. Acknowledge your feelings. Reach out. If you feel lonely or isolated, be realistic. The holidays don't have to be perfect. Set aside differences. Make time for yourself. Seek professional help if you need it. Giftoftheheart.org. Helping hands for hurting hearts.
Gene Powell Pasture Mowing. Our tractor services include bush hog, disking, front end loader, box blade, and stump grinding. We also have zero-turn mowers for the smaller paddocks, aisleways, fence rows, and lawn care. Fence row spraying is also available for weed control. We are licensed and insured. Gene Powell Pasture Mowing, 352-629-2440, or online at powellgene, Gene, at yahoo.com. Gene Powell Pasture Mowing.
You've got a garden and we've got a show for you called You've Got a Garden with your host, Master Gardener Carol Ann Baldwin. Carol Ann answers your questions about your flowers, your veggies, your grass, your trees, even questions about your bugs. And she's only on WOCA, so don't miss Carol Ann Baldwin and You've Got a Garden each Tuesday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. right here on WOCA The Source.
All right, 18 minutes after 9 o'clock, let's return to our conversation with Tim David. Tim is the author of a book called Magic Words, The Science and Secrets Behind 7 Words That Motivate, Engage, and Influence. And while they might be good on the stage as a magician, I'm guessing they're good out in the field as a salesperson. And Tim, one thing real quickly before I ask you this question. We have all known in any business, not just radio, the salesperson who goes out and it's like magic. They somehow know what to do.
Yeah.
And it's a mystery to me because I don't do it, so I don't have any idea how they do it. But some of them just know how to do it. They go out, they've got this magic way about them. And you know, sometimes somebody says, oh, you got to get a beautiful woman. She'll sell everything. No, it's not true. I mean, there are plenty of beautiful women who do sell well, but there are plenty of homely guys that do too.
Yeah, exactly.
That's true.
So, I mean, will this book help them?
Yeah, I would say so, definitely. I mean, selling really boils down to one thing, and again, I've used this term a few times, and that's human connection. You know, a lot of people think it's about fast talking or saying the right words in the right places, and that's certainly part of it, but it's really more about a feeling, it's more about an emotion, it's more about a connection, and really understanding these 7 words. I mean, there's a reason that this is a book and not just a list, right? It's not just about throwing the words in the right orders, right? It's about understanding the principles behind it and using those really to connect with people better, right? It's not about manipulating people or getting them to do things they don't want to do. It's really much more about just increasing that connection and understanding people a little better so you can better communicate.
Now, you've mastered it. Do you consciously use the words, or does it just happen naturally now that you've done it for so long?
Well, what happens is people use most of these words in the wrong way. We have bad habits that we have to overcome. So when I discovered the scientific research behind these words, and when I really dove into to pulling these words apart and looking inside them, I found that I had to change some of my habits. And at the beginning, it's difficult, just like changing any other habit. But it really starts with being aware, right? So anytime you hear somebody say the word but, for example, which is one of the magic words, are they using it on purpose, or is that sort of, are they using it by accident? And most people use it by accident. Most people use what I call the butt eraser. All right, and the butt eraser is not a late-night infomercial product, all right? I promise you that. The butt eraser, it takes advantage. I mean, we know as adult human beings, people focus on whatever comes after the word but, right? And anything that comes before the word but is erased. So you could say it disappears, right? So basically what we do is we got to say, okay, what's the important piece that we want people to remember? Is it before the but or after the but? And just be aware of other people and how they use it. And that's the first step to changing your habits.
And that's usually what people do focus on, because usually when people appear to be going on one track, say they want to have a new career, and then their family comes and they think that they're being helpful to them, and then they say, okay, this would be really good for you to pursue your dreams. but, and then there's
Right.
always something negative after the but. And we
Yeah,
have to
sounds
get
familiar.
people to get rid of that negativity.
Yeah, honey, I love you, but
Well,
Yeah.
So this is something people do all the time. I mean, when I was trying to become a magician, they'd say, "Hey Tim, that was fine as a hobby when you were 10, but this is the real world. You're gonna have real bills. You're gonna have to pay. You should find something more realistic, et cetera, et cetera." So we have the best of intentions, don't we, when we use that word? But the problem is sometimes we have the worst of results. So we have to again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
we gotta-
now that's
we gotta-
a positive thing.
Well, yeah, so you could use but as a positive thing. You could say, that painting you did is horrible, but I like the fact that it only cost you $2.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, when you did all of this research and went to the books and maybe talked to psychologists and things like that, did you try out these discoveries on your family and friends without them knowing, so you knew that it would be effective?
Well, a lot of these words I'd been using for years anyway. Again, as a magician, I would make tiny changes to my script night after night, and then I would notice it would get big differences in my audience's reactions. So I might, use these words to get a standing ovation, for example, at the end of the show.
Oh.
And the standing ovation not only was good for my ego, but it was good for the client who booked me. It was good for the people who were in the audience because they felt like they enjoyed the show more. So again, that is an example of how I'd use this stuff from the stage. But again, I'd been using most of these words for years and years anyway. But whether or not, on stage or whether or not to sell my magic show,
Well, it is.
But,
it sounds similar to the way a comedian writes. I mean, a comedian has to. I mean, the words have to be placed exactly in the right place. Otherwise,
Exactly.
the joke isn't as funny as it could be. So, can you give us an example of what you might say to get the standing ovation?
Well, real quick, I'll give you a better example. This is an example of how I would make a magic trick possible, right? A magic trick even happen. I had a deck of cards, and I'd hold it up, and I'd show the audience the deck of cards, and I would tell them one of the cards is reversed in the deck, so all the other cards are face up. This one's face down. Do you know which card is face up? Or do you know which card is face down? Tell me which card is face down. And every single time, I'm putting somebody on the spot. This is a total stranger. They had no idea I'd be calling on them, and they would literally say, "I don't know." Right? And this happens in everybody's life, and this is why I use this example. Not everybody's trying to get standing ovations, but this example is great because everybody has times in their lives when people tell them, "I don't know." Right? Or I can't. Right? There's some kind of resistance, some kind of negative approach. Right? So what can we do? Well, we could say, "Yes, you can." Right? And we could disagree with them and we could argue with them. That has been shown certainly does not work. So rather, I ask the question again, but I add in the magic word if. Right? 2 little letters. I add those in. I say this. What would you say if you did know? And amazingly, suddenly they know, and they start saying, "I don't know, 6 of clubs," right? Immediately, like magic, they automatically now know the answer.
Oh,
so
that's
try that.
cool.
It works. It works on kids. It works on grown-ups. It works on the board. It's amazing how powerful that little magic word "if" can be. That was one of my favorite chapters. The word "if" has all kinds of
I love that.
applications.
And then you, as a magician, you somehow get the right card to appear to show up or something.
Oh yeah, that's my secret. See, the magic word "if" didn't make the trick happen. It just sort of made the trick possible, allowed the person to voice their opinion. It didn't throw a wrench in the gears. It didn't slow the show down. Immediately, they were able to make a guess.
Really? So if a guy was on a date, he might say, "What would you do if after we were done eating we went home?
Yeah.
You came back to my place. What would happen if?"
Just hypothetically speaking.
So if is better than would you come back to my place after we eat? It's better to say after dinner, what would happen if we went back to my place?
Yeah.
Not a damn thing. Get your mind out of the gutter.
I like the image of the bunny on the front and back of the book jacket, but I also like the way that you position those words subliminally.
Yeah, I was pretty excited. I'm not, certainly not a graphic designer. We have, people who take care of that for us, and we looked at a few different designs, and this one really fit the bill for sure.
Can you give us another example? It was fun listening to that one. And the if example.
A sleepy thing.
All right, so if you were a motivational speaker, let's say you were hired to help a sales team at a corporation, would you? I mean, obviously, if you're with a group of salespeople, you know that some of them are better than others. So I don't know if you be speak. Everybody gets something from everybody. Tony Robbins once said that he goes to these different motivational speakers other than himself, obviously, and even if he knows 99% of what he's hearing, there's still 1% he gets something out of it. So that's what I would do. I would listen to what you had to say. Now I would have a lot to learn, but somebody who's very, very skilled at selling would still get something out of it.
Yeah, as a speaker, you bring up an interesting point. I mean, that's a big challenge that I have. A lot of times people in the audience, in the room that I'm speaking to, don't want to be there. They were assigned to be there. Their boss sent them or something. And my job is to break down those barriers to learning. And we all have these walls that we put up in any interaction. And it's effective to break those barriers down and to teach on a way that people can learn and take something away from. Because you're right, there's always something to be taken away, whether or not you want to be there. So I tell people, some of you volunteered to be here, and some of you were voluntold to be here.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Can you help people with the onset of dementia?
This is an interesting question. Now, the onset of dementia, I mean, this is basically, obviously, a neurodegenerative problem. It's a big issue. A lot of people are running into it. So there's two things. Obviously, the memory is affected. Overall brain health is affected. This is something my grandmother is going through. My grandfather passed away from dementia. I mean, this is something that has certainly personally affected me. I've done some work with the Alzheimer's Association and things like that to raise funds and awareness and what have you. But the bottom line is this. There's two approaches. Number one, yourself, and then the people around you. How do you deal? How do you interact? How do you have a relationship with somebody who has dementia? Because they don't remember, they don't share the same memories as you anymore. My grandmother doesn't recognize me anymore. So what I have to do is we use the magic word yes. And when I was studying the magic word yes, I came a lot across improv comedy, improv actors, and their motto, their mantra is yes and. If another actor says something or does something, you say yes and. So when you're interacting with a dementia patient, if they say something that's completely out of the blue, stop correcting them, stop fixing them, say yes and then improv. Jump into their world for a little while. Show that agreement, and that's some of the power behind the word yes. And as far as our memories go, how do we remember things? How do we remember people's names is a big issue inside the book, because a person's name is very, very, very powerful as well. This blew me away. I got to just jump into this for a second. This absolutely blew me away when I was doing research for names, how powerful a name is to somebody. For example, if your name is Peter, you're more likely to prefer Pepsi than Coke because it begins with the same letter as your name. And statistically speaking, of course, this blew me away. But also major decisions, not just soft drink decisions. Like if your name is Georgia, you are 88% more likely to live in the state of Georgia than should statistically be possible.
It's funny. My name is Larry. I like lunch better than dinner.
Yeah.
I never thought of that before. The book is called Magic Words. Tim David wrote the book, and I have a copy of it. A very fascinating study. Call me if you want the copy that Tim sent us. The rest of us have to buy it. Tim, we are out of time, but give us a website, please.
MagicWordsBook.com.
MagicWordsBook.com. All right, let me give this one away real quickly. Is it on Amazon, by the way?
It's also on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, bookstores around the world.
All right, good morning. You've got the book. Who's this?
Drew.
Drew, do you know where we are?
Yes.
Okay, yes, and come get it.
Yes.
Yes, come get it, Drew. And Tim, thank you for being on the air with us today. That was fun.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Rob.
All right, have a happy holiday. We'll be right back.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. Sony's comedy The Interview getting a lot of press, but not for the right reasons.
The film is about an assassination plot against North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, and the hackers who call themselves the Guardians of Peace don't like it. They say they'll target any movie theater that shows the film with attacks reminiscent of 9/11. New York City police officials say they don't think it's a credible threat, but they're staying vigilant nonetheless.
Fox Radio, Tanya J. Powers. New York City premiere of the film tomorrow has been canceled, and some theaters are pulling the movie